Let me ask you a question. Is it possible to change without changing? Is it? The primary reason why people want some or the other change in life is because they actually want to feel or they want to reap the benefits or the good thing which a change can bring along with it. Isn't it? Think about it. The monotony and the dissatisfactions that we have in life, they can often make anybody desperate for some or the other change. Isn't it? And constantly wanting some or the other change in life can probably be a sign of an unhappy or an unstable mind. And by an unhappy or an unstable mind, I mean a mind which constantly and consciously chooses to focus only on the things which are not there in our life instead of trying to acknowledge the things which are in fact there in our lives. And mind you, there are two types of change that we have in life. Two types of change. First, the changes which are beyond our control, which are not in our control, and these changes are caused by external factors. And second, the changes which actually are in our control, which we can control, but these changes are constantly being influenced. They are constantly and desperately wanted by our own desperate inner voice, our own desperate mind. These are the two types of changes. As Mr. Shubhavilas quotes in his book Open-Eyed Meditations, changes caused by external factors, when accepted gracefully, that shows maturity. And controlling the desperate inner voice of our unstable mind that wants rapid, unwanted change, that shows stability. And when it comes to change, these three very important things, if taken seriously, then anybody can make the most of any change or any opportunity that can come her or his way. And I'd like to just summarize these three very important things by means of 3 P's: personality, possessions, and purification. Now, let us try to understand these 3 P's from the perspective of one of the biggest epics that not just our country, but the entire world has seen, the Mahabharata. Now, from the perspective of the Mahabharata, let us try to understand these 3 P's, taking reference from a few specific characters and a few specific incidents from the Mahabharata. Speaking about the first P, personality. Now, when it comes to personality, the true measure of a person's personality is how they behave when people have either turned against them or how they behave when they have faced some sort of an embarrassment, right? That's even worse. Now, when it comes to that, there are 2 specific characters that I want to highlight upon. The first one, let's talk about him. So when the Pandavas had built Indraprastha, the brand new kingdom which they had built when they got separated from Hastinapur, they built Indraprastha, and Indraprastha was regarded to be as good and as beautiful as Indra's heaven on the earth. That's how beautiful it was. And Pandavas had invited everybody from the world to come to their new kingdom at Indraprastha. So now even Duryodhan, the first character, Duryodhan was also invited. And when Duryodhan saw this palace, when he saw Indraprastha, he was awestruck. He was baffled and he was completely amazed to see how beautiful kingdom the Pandavas had erected from the scratch. So when Duryodhan was just taking a tour of the kingdom, he fell into a pond of water by mistake. He just fell into a pond of water. And when he did that, when he fell, everybody over there started laughing hysterically at Duryodhan. Everybody was laughing and Duryodhan felt terribly embarrassed. He took this particular incident as an insult. And this incident was one of the starting points, one of the stepping stones of the battle of Mahabharata, which happened eventually. So Duryodhan took this as an insult, an embarrassment, and he eventually did what he did. And for this incident, he tried to take revenge against the Pandavas. Now that was Duryodhan's mindset. Now as against that, we have Arjun. Let's look at Arjun's mindset now. Arjun, he had gone to the heaven when the Pandavas had been exiled into the forest. Arjun went to the heaven and he met his father Indradev over there. And he had gone to the heaven to seek some support from his father Indradev to fight the war of Mahabharata. Some sort of weapons. He had gone in the search of Divyastra, meaning divine weapons, to the heaven. And when he was there, he came across this one damsel known as Urvashi. Alright, Urvashi, an Apsara. Urvashi actually cursed Arjun to become a transgender while Arjun was in the heaven. We can either use these incidents as a pin which can burst the bubble of our life, burst the balloon of our life, or we can use these incidents which happen in our lives as a thread. We can use them as a thread which can rather be tied to this balloon of our life so that the balloon of our life stays under control and doesn't fly away in the air. We can use these incidents as a thread to hold our balloon so that it doesn't fly out of control away in the air. So that was about the first P, ladies and gentlemen, personality. Moving on to the second P, possessions. Now speaking about possessions, We all want as many possessions in life, right? We all want to accumulate something or the other. If nothing, then we at least want some or the other discount on Amazon and Flipkart. Is it? We always look for the best price. We for sure know at least one person in our contact list who is a shopping freak. I'm sure about that because I know many such people. Even in the Mahabharata, there was one such character who was a shopping freak. He just wanted everything in life, wanted to collect as many things as possible. His name was Ashwathama. I'm sure you must have heard about this character somewhere. He was a shopping freak. He wanted to collect everything that came across his way. He just wanted to get and accumulate. But the sad part about him was that Ashwathama did not realize, or he didn't even try to realize the power and the potential of the things that he was accumulating. He just wanted to accumulate. That's it. He didn't even know how to properly utilize those things well. Just like we have a smartphone in our hands, which I guess you might be watching this talk on. Even the smartphone that we have has so many features and so many functionalities which we don't even know about. So that was basically Ashwathama. Everything for him was just something to accumulate. Now, here is the thing about Ashwathama, alright? Ashwathama was born with a jewel on his head. He had a small jewel or a money. That's what it's called. This jewel actually gave Ashwathama immense power and near invincibility. It gave him so much power that Ashwathama could not be beaten. Nobody could beat him. He was immune to diseases, ghosts, insects, and other such creatures which can otherwise harm an individual, a human being. That was how powerful Ashwathama was. But Ashwathama didn't really utilize the potential. He didn't even trust the potential of this jewel. He never even tried to understand it. Whenever a bad thing happened in Ashwathama's life, whenever a calamity struck, he would run behind his father's back and he would just ask his father for support. He expected his father, Acharya Drona, to solve all of his life's problems for him. Now, this was Ashwathama. Now, again, I'd like to take the example of one of the characters we earlier spoke about, Arjun, because Arjun really has a lot many good things to speak of. This 15-minute talk is not going to be good enough for that. So, Arjun, on the other hand, he tried to understand the potential of the things which he already had instead of asking for things from others. Arjun never really asked for anything from anyone. He simply tried to understand the potential of the things which he already had. I'm repeating it because I want to emphasize on how important this point is. So, instead of begging for things from others like Ashwathama, Arjun trained himself. He made himself so powerful. He empowered his life to such an extent that people were automatically drawn towards Arjuna on their own without Arjun even calling them or asking for anything. And people used to come to Arjun on their own and bless Arjun profusely. This is called the law of magnetism. People automatically come towards you without you even asking for it. That was the power of Arjun. So the point which I'm trying to make here is that the wishes that we have in life are like a box, alright? This box. And this box of wishes, it has no bottom. So it is a bottomless box. No matter how much you put in this box is never going to get full. That's how our wishes in life are. And Ashwathama was basically someone who tried to fill everything in this box, but the box was never full for him. But against this, when we have this kind of a box in life, which we are relentlessly trying to fill with everything, but it's not getting full, the idea is to become like Arjun, that if we have such a box which has no bottom, which is not getting full, then we need to shut this box from the top itself with the lid of intelligence. We need to curb this box of our wishes in life, not from the bottom, but from the top, by covering it from the top with the lid of intelligence. That is exactly how Arjun utilized the power of possessions. Now moving on to the third P, purification. And when it comes to purification, I'd like to highlight three of the most important characters of the Mahabharata. The first one, Dhritarashtra. Now Dhritarashtra was so attached to his son Duryodhan and to the kingdom of Hastinapur that he could not let them go. The second one, Bhishma Pitama. Bhishma Pitama was so much attached to his vow of celibacy, to his pratigya of celibacy, of never getting married, and to stay a lifelong servant to the king of Hastinapur. This was his vow, his pratigya, and he was too attached to it, and he just could not let it go. The third character, Acharya Drona. Acharya Drona was so attached to his son Ashwathama that he just couldn't let this attachment for Ashwathama go. He couldn't let it go. Now, these three characters were attached to some or the other thing or some or the other person. And they just didn't realize that the very thing or the very person which they were attached to, which they were not letting go, these things or these people were actually keeping them from doing the right thing, which was collectively good for everybody. Their attachments were keeping them from doing the right thing. Now, against these three people, we have Yudhishthir. Now, let us understand the power of Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir by nature was a righteous man. He was a truthful man. He never lied. But this very spirit of truthfulness, Yudhishthir actually let it go. He let this truthfulness from his life go when he lied in the Mahabharata. Probably for the only time in his life, he lied at the council of Shri Krishna during the Mahabharata when it was necessary to lie for the collective good. He lied to Acharya Drona that Ashwathama, his son, had died. This was the lie which Yudhishthir spoke. But now the question is, why would Yudhishthir do this? Why would he let the fundamental principle of his life of truthfulness and being righteous just go away like that? There are two things. So when we let go things in life which are holding us, which are keeping us from doing the right thing, when we let it go, two things happen. First one, letting go actually purifies our perspective and our vision and our life altogether. It actually purifies all of them. When Yudhishthir spoke a lie, after speaking a lie, Yudhishthir understood the real meaning of truth. You look at the paradox. Yudhishthir understood the real meaning of truth when he lied. Yudhishthir realized that truth is something which benefits everybody, not just the self. That's what Yudhishthir realized. And the second one, letting go actually gives us freedom from fear. It frees us from fear. When Acharya Drona was subject to this lie, when Yudhishthir lied that Ashwathama had died, and when Acharya Drona heard that, for the first time in his life, he was able to let go the attachment which he had for his son, and he was able to feel how the breath of freedom feels like. For the first time, he took the breath of freedom where he was not anxious or he was not attached to his son Ashwathama, but he genuinely felt how freedom from fear actually is like. That's what Acharya Drona felt when he heard this lie, and he was just forced to let go his attachment for his son because he felt his son was dead. The freedom from fear. These are the two things which letting go actually benefits us for. To wrap this up, a person who somehow manages to let things go in life, that person is respected by everybody. But a person who is just not able to let things go in life, that person ends up feeling alone even in a room filled with people or even in a world filled with people. So that was the third P, ladies and gentlemen, purification. And how do we purify ourselves? By letting go. Now, the $1 million question. How exactly do we apply these 3 P's in our life? Is it even possible? That's the $1 million question, isn't it? The answer, not really. You don't really have to apply all the 3 P's in your life altogether. You can apply either 1 P or 2 P's or perhaps 3 P's altogether in any permutation or combination as you want, depending upon your life and depending upon how a particular situation turns out in your life. But one thing is for certain, these 3 P's actually provide the best possible result and the best possible output when these 3 P's are applied in face of adversity or during challenges or during problems or during uncomfortable times when a person is the most uncomfortable. Now think about it. We spoke about Arjun. We spoke about Yudhishthir. These 2 people applied the 3 P's in their lives in areas where challenges were at their peak, when these 2 people were the most uncomfortable and they were confronted with few of the most difficult problems and situations of their lives. Think upon and reflect upon each of the scenarios which these 2 people had to face. But the good part is, that is exactly when the 3 P's gave them the best possible results. And that is why we respect the Pandavas so much in today's day and age as well. To sum it up, I would like to quote Mr. Shubhavilas from his book, Open-Eyed Meditations. Problems and challenges are our best chance to prove our maturity. Anyone can fake to be mature in fair weather, but to be mature in tough climates is a sign of a seasoned traveler. A problem or a challenge, when seen from up close and with clarity, appears small. But the same problem or a challenge, when seen from a distance and with confusion, appears gigantic. But when a bad problem or a challenge comes in contact with a good attitude, the result is an inspirational story. Thank you so much.